Hey guys, this is Crypto with James talking to you today about geopolitical news and how it impacts the markets. Um, because obviously things have escalated with regards to Russia and Ukraine. So we've got to talk about it and we've got to talk about what the expectation is coming into this. Before I do, as always, I update the spreadsheet. These are the first 26 coins I spoke about on the channel that I thought would crush it in the cycle. Obviously having dramatic retracements over the past sort of 48 hours. If you invested $100 into each one when I released the videos and you were still holding all that crypto, you'd still be in profit for over 42 grand. This used to be my portfolio and it's not anymore. If you want to see what I hold, come check out Copy My Crypto. In times like this, with regards to huge variables, huge external variables on the market, people are unsure how to react. So if you want to know exactly how I'm reacting, you can come check it out because sort of impulsive decision making does lead to bad decisions. So I share with everyone exactly what I'm doing right now. In a time where things are uncertain, there is still opportunities, certainly ways to organize your portfolio, certainly ways to get prepared. And then knowing how to react if a bear cycle comes is key as well. So all of this gets told to you in terms of how I'm doing it on Copy My Crypto. So if you want to know that, click the link in the description and check it out. Right. So Russia have ordered troops into the rebel-held regions. Basically, what he did was acknowledge that the rebel-held regions are two independent states. So he's sending troops as a peacekeeping mission to those breakaway regions. Effectively, what it is him going, well, these two cities are not part of Ukraine. Therefore, I can send my troops there to support, those separatist-held areas. What it means is that they're going to incur on, or they're going to invade Ukraine, or they're going to invade parts of it. So we've got to look at what this means, because people do. We saw the market impact that it had. The S&P 500 dropped pretty significantly, 0.72%. Bitcoin obviously dropped quite significantly. Crypto in general is always going to drop more than the stocks. So we've got to look at what has happened historically. And these kind of things matter. You've got to follow what's happened. So these are sort of a list of geopolitical events over the past sort of 70 years, and how those impacted on the initial day of the stock markets, the calendar days to the bottom of the market, and then the days to recovery. And what we see, a lot of these are moments based on terrorism. So they seem to have certainly a smaller market impact. They last longer, they don't linger in terms of the markets. Wars or crises around nations certainly have longer impacts. North Korea missile crisis, 14 days to the bottom, 36 days to recovery, so it took a bit longer. But even on the day, 0.1%, it's not overly significant. Then we saw bombing of Syria, again, 7 days, 18 days to recovery. Iraq's invasion of Kuwait, 71 days to the bottom, 189 days to recovery, so a bit longer, fair bit longer. But we've got to also bear in mind, Russia's already done this once with Ukraine, started in 2014. So if we trace back to the markets from 2014, what we'll see, if I zoom out, so it was February 20th of 2014, so around there. So let's zoom in now. So Feb 20th. So if we now take a more detailed look at it, we had a similar scenario in terms of the general way in which it came about. So the 20th of Feb was actually the day. So the 19th was the day before when we saw the reaction like the instigation effectively. And we saw the market drop. So this is the S&P index. So that day it dropped 6.65%. Immediately the day after, there was a 0.6% recovery. And to be fair, from January to the 3rd of Feb, we did actually see obviously the things escalating. So we saw that downturn before, again, a recovery and a rally. This has happened before. This has been this is 8 years in the making, really. It's still been going on. The Ukrainians have been dealing with it for over 8 years. So we know that this has happened before. Now, the only ways that this can get, or the way that this can get worse globally, is if China get involved. If China starts sending tanks or providing military to aid Russia, that would be problematic, because what that would lead to is sanctions from America. And with situations like we've seen with regards to Evergrande, they could be fairly significant in terms of the global economy impact. Now, the biggest thing with this kind of moment in time is actually writing down exactly what happens, monitoring. If you're in the stock market or you're in crypto, I've said this before, one thing you've got to do is start monitoring how these moments in history impact markets, because what's happening now isn't going to be the only time it happens in your lifetime. So knowing what's going to come is valuable. Now, one thing I'll point out is that today could very well be a recovery day. Could very well be a recovery day. We're seeing it right now. And I do believe that we're probably going to continue to see some element of a recovery, bar external variables. The external variables that impact are basically leaders or so-called leaders speaking. So if Biden starts saying something friggin' stupid, if Boris Johnson, if NATO, if Putin, that can have a downturn on the market. But right now, we're having a bit of a recovery. But one thing people need to bear in mind is we do have an M shape that is now formed. M shapes are very bearish. And there could be extended downside for Bitcoin in the short term. And we could see potentially down to between 30 and 33,000. Remember, your Michael Saylors, your Teslas, all generally the average for buying price was around those low 30s for the biggest holders, for the big institutional money that we saw rock into the market. So there should be a solid amount of support there. But even if it breaks through, the previous low of this sort of cycle was around 28,800 or 28,600 or so. So that's, again, where I expect to see a hell of a lot of support, along with that, like say that 30, 32, 33K level. But if you're in this market and this stuff is freaking you out, remove yourself from the scenario. Emotional decision making leads to bad decision making. I've never known myself make a good decision when I'm emotional. And that's whether it's investing or, when you're having an argument with your partner. You don't say sensible things when you're emotional, and you don't do sensible things when you're emotional. So it's one way you've got to really level off. But make preparations however you want. I've already told the Copy My Crypto members how I'm making preparations, because we could see an extended downside. Is feasible. We could see a bear cycle. These things aren't bad things. Bear cycles are an amazing opportunity. I'm exceptionally excited for another bear cycle. Is where you get the best opportunities for investments. Everything's on discount. In a bear cycle, there's a good shot that you'll see Polkadot at around $3. There's a good shot that you'll see, Solana around 10, 15. There's a lot of real opportunities in a bear cycle. So it's just one way you've got to have consideration about how you're going to approach it when it occurs. Right now, there's not a confirmation yet, but this is definitely a very bearish pattern right now. But today looks like a bounce, a market bounce off of the sort of very negative day for stocks and for crypto. But it is worth bearing in mind, look, this has happened before. We saw a market bounce. This has happened multiple occasions in many different geopolitical spheres and scenarios, but we've seen the one-day impact, the drawdown, but then the bottoms and the days to recovery. The bottoms are generally not that bad, bar Iraq's invasion of Kuwait. But even then, there was a lot going on in 1990 that you can't necessarily put down to Iraq's invasion of Kuwait. You can also look at capital market performance during times of war. World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War, Gulf War, and you can see how large caps were affected, how small cap stocks were affected, how long-term bonds, 5-year notes, long-term credit, cash, and what was the inflation like at the time. All these things are variables that matter. But fundamentally, I don't think that the Russia situation is the reason for the massive downturn in the S&P 500. We've already been seeing that since January. When we actually look at it, we saw that the top of the market effectively was January 4th, and we've seen downturn since then for the S&P 500. And we know the situation right now. There's a lot going on. There's enormous inflation. There's problems externally with potential wars. I don't think that's necessarily going to come to fruition. But this isn't just Russia about to invade, so things are now going to get bad. Don't be reactive to these markets. And when I say don't be reactive, don't panic react. There's a big difference between being reactive and being panicked. Right now, market, it's not, today there's a long way to go today in terms of market recovery. But it would be very bullish if we could see a close above 38,000 or above 38,400, because that would effectively regain all the ground lost yesterday. And it's definitely possible. There's some short-term indicators that do make me believe that we're going to have a bounce today. So do be cautious, guys, in terms of emotional decision making. Because this could very much be a much ado about nothing situation where anticipation of the problem is bigger than the problem. Financial market wise, not in terms of things for Ukraine. So yeah, something to consider, because historically we've seen these moments before and they haven't unduly impacted markets. Obviously, many variables to take into consideration there. Yeah, and that's it. It's one of these, again, guys. I really do want to reiterate this. Like, if you're in this crypto space or you're in financial markets, these kind of moments are valuable. This is a huge learning opportunity where you can see what's happening and you can start monitoring it. You can start logging it. Biden spoke. This is what happened. Biden spoke positively. This is what happened. Or Biden spoke negatively. This is what happened. Putin spoke aggressively. This is what happened. Monitor these moments, because if you've got this history of these moments in time, when it happens again, you can literally just go back to your journal, your spreadsheet, however you track historical records, and then you can use that information to inform your next decisions in the future. Because while history doesn't necessarily repeat, it rhymes. So if Putin's making an aggressive comment and we see a downturn in the market, guess what? Next time a leader of another country makes a negative or an aggressive comment about an invasion or whatever, you know that could happen. It might be less of an impact because it's a country that's not as big as Russia, but you've got to bear these things in mind. And recording it is so valuable. Think of it like as a genuinely, everyone should be thinking of these moments as an educational moment for your future in terms of investing. Because it will happen again. It's a very interesting one. And yeah, let's see how today plays out, because I'm sure Biden will speak. So look at this, look at the S&P, look at Bitcoin before Biden speaks, and look at it during, and then look at it after. See what's the difference, because it's going to be, like I said, this is all valuable information, and you can use this again and again and again and again. And that's it from me. Hope you're all keeping very, very well. If you're new to crypto, or you've been here a while, come check out Copy My Crypto, where we've got situations like this. I'm telling my members exactly what I'm doing, how I'm preparing, what I'm getting ready for these sort of uncertain times. And if you're not sure how to handle these uncertain times, then come check out Copy My Crypto, and you can find out exactly what I'm doing and how you can copy it. Anyway, that's it from me. Take care. Bye-bye.